Hello, lovely beings. It's JJ Rose. I am going to talk about the soul versus the permanent atom. To make this very easy to understand, the soul is basically your individual essence, all of your levels, above and below, and all of your lives, everything. That is your soul. That is what experiences all those different lives, all those different levels. It is experiencing all of those simultaneously at the same time. The permanent atom is more of like a recording device. So if you want to think of it in technical terms of what we have right now on this planet, it would kind of be like a drone that follows you around that basically records every single thing that you're seeing, experiencing, etc., and is basically uploading it consistently to the Akashic records. Now, the permanent atom is working consistently on all levels as well, and consistently also reporting in. The permanent atom is permanent because it's with us at all times, but again, its function is more of a recording device versus your soul, which is experiencing these different lives, levels, situations, whatever you're going through, all at the same time. So, that being said, the soul at your very top level, your 77 levels above, is one with source, creator, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. So that's why, to me, all of us being connected, or string theory, completely makes sense, because at the top level, we are all one. We are all connected. There is no separation from God, source, creator, or universe. We feel separate because we're on a lower level, but at our top levels, we are one with source. And of course, as I said before, part of my issue with religion is there was a huge campaign for years to make people feel separate from God, source, or creator. And that to me is demeaning, but also it takes away our personal understanding and power in understanding that at the top level, we are one with God, source, universe, and we are also one with everyone else. We're all a part of the same thing, not just because we coexist, but because literally at the top level, we are all part. Just like people will say, oh, we're all made of stars. Yeah, we're all made of the big same star if you believe in the Big Bang. We are all a part of whatever that central piece was before it exploded. Now, that being said, let's talk about soul contracts and soul learning. Soul contracts is a big word that I've been hearing within the spiritual community. Basically, it's just a new age word for things that were predestined or pre-decided before you incarnated that you needed to experience. These could be your parents. I know personally that I chose my parents out of 1,800 choices. I also know that there were certain things in this life that I personally decided to go through in order to have the experience for my growth, my soul, my learning, as well as part of my duty of what I was going to do in this life and my job of giving back. Because we're not only here just to learn, we're also here to help others learn. Because again, we are all part of the same collective. Now, oftentimes you will hear people who are healers who will talk about breaking soul contracts and things like that. Yes, there are things that if we need to do it on a more spiritual level of getting across to the person, hey, you can't stay in this abusive relationship anymore. You need to not only break from it physically, but also emotionally, mentally, vibrationally, spiritually, all of it, and cut the cord. So I differ a little bit in how I explain these things because, again, I come from a different, verbiage of doing this for so long. But to me, soul contracts are things that are predestined that you already agreed to go through. So therefore, why would you need to break a soul contract when you have the ability with free will on this planet anyway to change your circumstances, to grow, to heal, to cut the cord, to leave, or to, take a different path? Soul learning are the things, again, just like contracts, those are predestined things that your soul came in knowing it wanted to experience in order to have that growth, that understanding, be that person to help others in that situation. This is why oftentimes people ask, why do bad things happen to good people? Most of the time they signed up for it before they even incarnated here, usually thousands or millions of years before they even incarnated here, in understanding that they needed this life in order to do XYZ, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's being a catalyst, sometimes it's being an example, sometimes it's direct intervention. And, there's so many different ways that you can explain this, but I think we all understand, hopefully by now, the different ways that we are of use in our lives to not only ourselves, but also to others. This also goes into why when I hear some spiritual people say, to be spiritual, you just need to meditate all day, every day, and, stay away from people and this third to fifth dimension stuff, which I am definitely going to do another episode about, clearing up some misconceptions. But part of why we are here is to make these different connections with different people. That's why humans are social creatures, because we need each other in order to grow, to learn, to understand ourselves and other people differently. That's where compassion and empathy come in. You're not going to learn that for yourself or for anyone else unless you have direct communication with other people. And, if your circumstances are that you are not able to leave your home, let's say you have an illness and you're bedridden, well, then part of your destiny is to do that. But I'm sure that you're in communication with people somewhere, whether it be caregivers or medical staff or your own friends and family or online. I mean, we have this wonderful internet thing now that we didn't have 30 years ago that people can communicate on. Humans by design are not meant to be left alone and never, ever, ever be with other people. And I'm sure if some of you are sensitives or empaths out there, it's been a really crazy time. And I'm absolutely sure that there are times when I know even for myself, I need to just be alone. I need to disconnect, tune out, turn off, and just recenter myself, ground everything out, do a purge of all the energies that I've picked up from others and have a little alone time. That's normal, but I wouldn't want to live my entire life away from other people. There's no purpose to me for that. There's no growth. There's no learning. So to me, that doesn't make sense. Now, I was asked for this episode as well as a couple questions, which I am going to try to answer. One of the questions was, well, if the soul at the top is one with Creator and we signed up for a lot of these things, what are things that can actually hurt the soul? So, when we are born, we come in with our permanent atom and our soul, and we also have a natural web, which is our protective barrier. This is a spiritual protection. This is why normally children are very protected until around the age of like 11 or 12. That's when the guardian angels back off a little bit, and that's when they're usually making different choices in life and a little less protected depending on what their contracts were coming in. But there are things that can actually hurt the soul via hurting the web first. So the spiritual web of protection, things that can hurt that are abuse, pain, addiction, unresolved issues, causing issues in this life, and trauma. So basically all the low vibration stuff. And of course, fear. Excessive fear. I'm not talking you're scared of a spider once in a while. I'm talking like PTSD, excessive fear. Now, drugs specifically drugs, alcohol, even prescription medications. If anything changes your mind, meaning it does anything to inebriate you or make you think or feel different, it can cause tears to the protective web. And when there are tears to your protective web, what ends up happening is things can get in. Not only spiritual things can get in, but things can also, like abuse, trauma, all of a sudden you feel like you're super sensitive and you don't know why. All of that stuff happens because the web has been torn, fractured. In some people, it's open gashes. I have actually met one person that I think there was only 20% left. It was very, very sad. This person had done a lot of hallucinogens, not natural ones, in their life, and a lot of addiction, trauma, abuse, and pain in their life. Not only that they had taken, but also that they had caused. And this ripped their web to shreds. So obviously you can tell by my content that from what I'm saying is I am not an advocate for drug use of any kind. I personally don't even think drinking is a great idea, especially to the point of being drunk. And the reason being is that's why they used to call it spirits instead of liquor, because it does make you much more open. I know for myself in the past, there have been times when I have had a couple drinks and literally like I am an open book. I feel I can read everything and I'm not able to shut it down or tune it out the way that I am if I'm completely sober. Now, that being said, I do want to address probably a glaring issue that some people are wondering, which is, well, there's a lot of, Native and Indigenous tribes that would use hallucinogens or different herbs that can change the mind and cause inebriation in different ceremonies. Yes, in ceremonies where they have shaman or medicine women or men who are there to specifically watch over the person while they are undergoing this journey. And usually that's what it's called, is a journey, and it's a mental journey. It's usually there to kind of suss out different issues and or learn more about the person's self. These are done by highly educated practitioners that understand and that are there for the person and that are also holding protective space over the people so that they themselves are not coming back with torn webs and hitchhikers, basically, of the spiritual kind. And I do understand that there's a lot of educational things coming out saying, that there are medicinal ways that people are beating depression and anxiety. But again, these are done under doctor care or care of someone sitting there making sure that they're holding space for the person so that they are being properly taken care of and hopefully they're not coming back with spiritual hitchhikers. So, if something is able to tear one's protective web and therefore attach itself and or wound the person more because they do have these tears in their web, then that can in turn hurt the soul. So again, things like drug addiction, drinking, unresolved issues, abuse, pain, trauma, those are all things that can wound the soul. Now, by wound, it's a little different than, oh, I've got a bruised soul. It means you've now created more work for yourself in the next life or in the next incarnation. And depending on exactly what it is that the person is experiencing or going through, it can actually cause repercussions on different levels of the person's being. So yes, although it's happening to you here on this level right now, it can cause repercussions to your levels below as well as your levels above and create more work. This is why part of my personal clearing ritual is to not only clear my levels below, but also my levels above, because I do understand that there are things that can affect both. And unfortunately, we live in a time right now where we have access to everything at our fingertips with computers and internet. We are able to connect with other people that before we probably wouldn't even know existed, let alone that we could talk to them before the internet and the phone came about. And with that, and also being able to get information so freely and clearly and quickly, not only do you have people who are out there spreading just lies or random things that they think about that aren't necessarily the truth, or trying to profit from untruths, or deliberately just trying to sway you in a different direction in order to meet whatever gain they want from that. That's why it is extremely advised to make sure that you are cleansing and clearing yourself and watching what you are intaking. And I don't even just mean physically, I mean mentally, emotionally. What are you watching and experiencing and putting up with that you don't have to? And obviously there's certain things. I mean, we all have family members who do weird stuff. We all have friends who, we love them, but they need help. And you can try to be there for them, but there also needs to be a part where you realize they're going to take you down with them if you do not back away. Or if you notice you're getting more and more depressed after watching news for 3 hours a day, go on a news diet. Just stop watching the news. You're not going to fall off the face of the earth. You're still going to know what's going on because people talk, or there's other means of finding things out. But, I personally at one point had to go on what I call the depression diet. So I no longer listened to sad songs. I didn't watch the news. And I literally stayed away from anyone who was negative for 30 days in order to help rebalance myself, because I had gone in so deep and was feeling so much and had so many cords that until I was able to heal myself, I wasn't able to watch even a commercial about a puppy. I would break down crying because I was too sensitive. So in that case, that's when I needed a little bit of a purge. Now that I've talked about what hurts the soul, let's talk about what heals the soul. Many things. Shadow work, forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of others, acceptance, non-judgment, understanding yourself, and self-growth. All of those things heal the soul. You would be shocked at how much you can actually heal just by knowing yourself. And I mean that seriously. Some people might hear this and laugh and think, okay, well, I know myself. No, you would be astonished at how many people truly do not know themselves. They don't understand why they do the things they do. They don't understand their behavior. They don't understand their routines. They don't understand why they keep being met with the same either repercussions or same people or circumstances. You would be astonished how many people are completely and utterly unself-aware. I am not saying this as a dig to people. I literally am, not literally, that's silly, but I'm the kind of person that I just think everyone knows the same stuff that I do, and that we're all on the same level playing field. So when I speak to people, I just kind of naturally think, okay, I don't need to go in much detail because everyone understands. And then I watch different content or I meet different people and I start realizing, wow, they don't. And not everyone's on the same level. Not everyone knows the same things. I met someone who didn't even know who Nostradamus was. And I just thought that was a given that everyone knew who Nostradamus was. And, especially depending on age and what you've been shown and what you've experienced, we're not all on the same level playing field. We all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different places, different emotional places. And if you were raised in a family where everyone's emotional quotient was, 4, and no one dealt with emotions well, and everyone basically tried to hide or run away from their problems instead of dealing with them, that's all you know until you get out in the big red world and start understanding, wow, people actually do know about themselves and why they do this stuff. Or for some people, it's when they get into rehab or therapy and they start discovering these things about themselves. And it is astonishing because, again, I come from a place where I feel like everyone has done this work and everyone knows about themselves. And I have met umpteen thousands of people who have zero self-awareness. And when we talk, I mean, I'll just bring up little things like, oh, well, don't you realize you do XYZ because of ABC? And the look and the epiphany in their eyes, to me, I'm just thinking this is just, 101 being a person, but apparently it's not. And I don't know if that was lost over time or if it's because technology wise, we're so focused on other things instead of ourselves and we're so distracted. But whatever the reason is, and obviously I haven't lived, forever in this body, but all I know is going within and really understanding yourself really will help to heal your soul. And it will unburden you immensely just by understanding yourself and why you do these things. And there are going to be things that are going to come up that make no sense when you really dive in and you do the work and you try and understand why is this particular issue coming up over and over and over again. There's nothing whatsoever in my life that I've been exposed to or been through that has anything to do with this. And that's the case when I say, okay, maybe you need to do a past life regression, or do a meditation where you talk directly to your higher self and ask, what is this all about? And figure out why you came in with that. And usually in those cases, there is an issue from a past life that carried over, because again, that trauma stores in the soul, and the soul is going to reincarnate again and again and kill it until it can work out whatever that issue is and grow and evolve. Ways to know yourself: journal, and then read back your journal. If you're lucky and you have a diary from when you were a kid or in your teens or whatever age you are, something in the past, reread it. If you're of the technology age and you were on video, for the past 5-10 years, rewatch those videos. See the development within yourself and your character. And I guarantee if you're able to look in pictures or videos of yourself, you will see the growth, not necessarily physically, because that's just a given, but within your eyes and the depths of your soul, you will feel it, that you are different. If someone asked me, who am I today compared to who I was when I was 16 or 18 or 21 or 25, I mean, almost a different person, because the leaps and bounds of growth and knowing myself. And even back then, I knew myself pretty well. But I also decided to unburden myself with a lot of the trauma and the drama and do those cord cuttings and look back and say, I need to do better, not only for myself, but for other people, because that's important. I matter, you matter, all of us matter. That's the whole reason why I'm doing all of these audios to begin with, is because I want everyone to understand that they matter. And every time one of us does some work and betters ourselves from within, it exponentially benefits the entire world. I guarantee you that. You might think you're just a tiny drop in an ocean, but everything you do, because we are all connected, matters to other people. And therefore, what happens to your body and to your soul and your mind and your protective web and all that your permanent atom is recording, all of that matters. All of us make a difference, whether we realize it or not. And to anyone out there right now who doesn't understand how important you are, I personally am sending you loving energy right now. Thank you so much for listening. If there's any questions that anyone has, please put it in the comments or feel free to email me directly. I do not charge for emails and questions. I am doing this out of the love of my heart and really just trying to make an impact. Thank you again so much for your time.